Hey folks, it's Rod with the Pow Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Today is Monday, January 20th, Inauguration Day in the US. Hope you're doing well and hope you had a great weekend. In this video, we're going to be discussing mega mergers that should be incoming as we see reform in the US. Whether it be rescheduling, full-blown descheduling. I think rescheduling to Schedule 3 is the most likely scenario. But as we know, experts have been saying, people that are close to Trump and the new administration, that they're going to attempt to deschedule. So no one has a crystal ball, but ultimately, one thing is for sure: we have major reform coming, one way or another, to the United States, and that is the biggest economy in the world. So by far the most important kind of time for the industry, right? That's just ahead. So we're entering a paradigm shift where we're going to see massive change and just adoption at the highest level. We're going to see big pharma, big alcohol, big tobacco really start to enter the space. They've been doing years now of research and development. We'll take a look at some partnerships. Some ended, some are still going, but ultimately, I do think that we're going to see an influx of capital into the space, whether it be from a merger and acquisition perspective or just more partnerships and deals and cash injections. But we'll discuss all of that and more in today's video. Before we do, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. If you're new, you can subscribe. Tick the bell, you'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. And as always, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. You can also follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. Handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. So again, the more we get, the more, whether it be rescheduling, the more we see reform in the US, we're going to see these companies, big pharma, big alcohol, tobacco start to warm up to the industry. And we're already seeing signs of that. And I actually had it on my to-do list to do this video a couple of days ago, and I pushed it off just because I've been so busy. And then yesterday, news broke that Philip Morris and Avacana actually had some partnership news. And I'm going to be interviewing Aras, the CEO of Avacana, and Sheldon, CEO of 3D Capital, tomorrow. And that'll be the 21st of January. And I'll be posting it probably later on in the day tomorrow, if not on Wednesday. If anybody does have any questions, let me know. But this is huge. We'll jump into the article here in just a moment, but I already had Aras on the channel for an interview. This was 4 months ago. Wow, time flies. So I talked about, we talked about the company, his background, partnerships, expansion, financials, and more. So if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend you check them out. They have quite the track record now. They've been working with Johnson & Johnson. They've been working with Shoppers Drug Mart here in Canada, similar to a Walgreens in the US. And now they're partnered with Philip Morris. So this is huge news. Here was the article from Forbes. So world's largest tobacco company continues silent entry into MJ. Is Philip Morris a medical MJ supporter? So if we scroll down here, you can see here that PMI, Philip Morris International, largest tobacco company in the world by market cap, has further reached into MJ through its subsidiary, Vectura Fertin Pharma, so VFP. And that's going to be a collaboration with Avacana, a Canadian biopharmaceutical firm specializing in cannabinoid-based medicine. So this is great to see. Like I said, they have quite the track record that is forming now. We know that they were the first cannabis business to be accepted into Johnson & Johnson's Innovation Lab. And then Shoppers Drug Mart also partnered with Avacana to transition their medical MJ by Shoppers. So their roots are running deep here. They have quite the track record that's forming. Pfizer bets big on medical MJ as well with 6.7 billion acquisition. And what's really interesting to me is that a lot of the sales now from medical MJ are being covered by insurance as well, right? So that's going to be huge for the industry, and we're going to continue to see that expand into the US. But as of right now, I think in Canada, I'm pretty sure Avacana said that they're right now, I think about 70% of their sales have been covered by insurance. So this is huge. And I think I'm a investor in Avacana as well. I'm going to be looking to add more to my position, but I think, great company long-term, especially, focusing on the medical side of things. Medical is going to be, the applications for this are massive, right? But efficacy based and kind of taking away from going into, a type of store or dispensary, right? If you've got somebody that's been prescribed something, they don't necessarily feel comfortable going in there, and you're talking to a 18-year-old or a 20-year-old kid or whatever. You want more of the traditional, method, which would be go in, get a prescription from your doctor, go to, a pharmacy and get prescribed your medicine, right? So I think there's a huge, and plus, it has to be tracked, all of that properly. So you have to come back for checkups and things like that. And, that's just not possible right now with dispensaries the way that they're set up. And ultimately, I think there's going to be a great market for both of them, right? There's going to be huge markets for both medical and recreational. But I think we have to delineate the two. And it's hard to overstate how big that the medical aspect of this is going to be, not just from a Canadian perspective, but once it hits the U.S., once you can be prescribed MJ and then go and get it under your insurance coverage, that's going to be huge for the sector. Also, I want to remind everybody, kind of a blast from the past, that Kronos Group received $2.4 billion in strategic growth investment from Altria Group. There was talks that they might be exploring a sale, but seems to be that was just rumors. There's been no activity on that or any kind of movement on that. So they declined. The companies declined that as well. So we'll see what happens there. But personally, I think they're a company that could potentially make some more moves as well in the space with regards to acquiring another company. We'll see what happens there, but they're sitting on a boatload of cash. Also, British American Tobacco strengthens its strategic partnership with Organogram. So they've invested hundreds of millions of dollars into Organogram. We know Oxley partnered with Imperial Brands, 123 million. So we're talking literally hundreds of millions and billions of dollars being injected into these companies. And if you remember, Tilray actually had a partnership with AB InBev, so the maker of Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch. And that was for researching partnership focused on non-alcohol, psychoactive component, and CBD beverages. They did end the partnership, but ultimately this just goes to show that these companies, these industries, right, the incumbents, big pharma, big alcohol, tobacco, they're very much interested in this space. And while their partnerships may have been temporarily paused or ended, it doesn't mean that they're not going to come back in the future, which I very much think that they will, especially with prices at all-time lows like this. This is the time where we would see big companies start to enter the space, especially ahead of major reform in the U.S. We know Molson Coors was partnered with Hexo, and then Hexo was acquired by Tilray. Tilray acquired Trust Beverage Co., the remaining 52-ish% from Molson Coors, and they exited the CBD drink joint venture. And again, they stated that scaling issues, things like that, it was difficult with the regulatory landscape. They weren't able to scale because you just had all this ambiguous rules of the road. We didn't have the same level playing field across the whole U.S. Some states legal, some not, right, with regards to hemp, and then full-blown legalization. Some are medical, so it's just very convoluted and confusing, right? So what these companies want is clear rules of the road. They want everything to be the same in all states, right? They don't want to be dealing with different policies at each state level, right? If you're going into this, if you're dealing with big alcohol, big tobacco, they want things simple, and what they bring to the table is their distribution network, right? And being able to scale that and drive profitability and margins. And the only way that they're going to be able to do that, especially with drinks, is at scale, right? They're very difficult to make. It's hard to produce these, and from a facility perspective, you need to have state-of-the-art facilities, and it's just you really need to. We really need to have some sort of reform, I think, before they'll get back into the space. But Constellation also investing $5 billion in canopy growth. So as you can see, big alcohol, big tobacco, big pharma has its hands all over this industry. It's still early days, right? And we're potentially going to see a time where there's going to be these companies, whether it be Pfizer or Moderna, Johnson and Johnson. We could see big alcohol, big tobacco companies come in and purchase a company. That's something we're going to see, these mega mergers. Not only will we continue to see mergers and acquisitions, from MJ companies to other MJ companies. We'll see tons of that. I think we're going to see continued consolidation in the space. But over the next couple of years, once we start to see reform in the U.S. and it's rescheduled, it's no longer on Schedule 1. Same as heroin, you're going to see these companies start to flood into the space, in my opinion. You also have hedge fund managers and things like that just can't touch the space. I remember listening to, I think it was Kevin O'Leary, who said that he was hell bent on this company out of, I think it was Vermont. He said, yeah, this company out of Vermont. There was this company I was looking into. It was an MJ company. Loved it. They had great financials, great metrics, great everything. He was looking at. He was just blown away. And he said he talked to his lawyer, and his lawyer said, "What are you, crazy? This is a Schedule One drug. Like you can't touch this stuff, right?" So there's fiduciary duties, and the shareholders to adhere to. So a lot of these companies, they're just waiting, in my opinion, for the stigma to be removed, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's still on Schedule One. But we're getting there, and eventually, I think that this industry is going to be dominated by big pharma, big alcohol, and tobacco because they have the most to lose. I've said it many times in this channel. I used to work for a big pharmaceutical company, billion-dollar pharmaceutical company. They were in the opioid crisis. They got fined billions of dollars, and then after they realized that that probably wasn't the best way to generate money going forward because of the issues with being fined and their role that they played in that crisis, they started to pivot to CBD and cannabinoid-based medicine, and that's all they talked about for about 2 years. So this industry is going to be the place to be, in my opinion, over the next few years. And like I said, we're so early; it's not even funny. The good thing about being early is we're early. The bad thing about being early is we're early, right? So you have to wait, you have to be patient, and you have to deal with all the FUD pieces that come out and uncertainty. But ultimately, one thing is for sure: I believe that this industry is very much alive and well. We know that science is on our side. We've got a new administration, pro-business, pro-common sense, pro the American people, and the American people have spoken. They want this medicine. They want this plant legalized, and 70 to 80% of the nation in the U.S. wants it legal. So, in my opinion, it's just a matter of time. We just have to be a little bit more patient. It's definitely not priority one, issue number one. So we'll stand in line, basically wait our turn, and eventually we'll get there. And we'll see what happens with RFK Jr. and other appointments to the DEA. But a lot remains to be seen. But like I said, very, very hopeful for the future. I think that we're on the cusp of something great here. And over the next couple of months, we should start to see momentum really start to pick back up in the sector. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. Looking forward to the interview tomorrow with Avikana Aras and Sheldon, CEO of 3D Capital. If anybody has any questions, like I said, please let me know. It's Rod with the Powell Group. Thanks again for joining us in the Pursuit of Wealth, and we'll catch you on the next one.